For years, he said nothing, not a word. But when Usher finally stepped into that courtroom, what he revealed sent shockwaves through the music industry. This wasn't a headline. This wasn't a rumor. This was Usher under oath, exposing a world he was forced into at just 14 years old. Nobody in that courtroom was ready for what happened next. The judge called a name, and suddenly, heads turned. Usher. Yes, that Usher. The R&B icon walked up to the stand. And no, this wasn't about music beef, album sales, or some record label drama. What he was about to say had nothing to do with songs, and everything to do with secrets. For years, Usher kept quiet. He smiled in interviews, avoided certain questions, and just kept it moving. But now, he was ready to speak, under oath, and what he shared left the room silent. It all started when Usher was just 14 years old, fresh into the industry. He had just dropped his first album, and everyone thought he was about to blow up. Music execs arranged for him to move to New York and live with a superstar mentor, Sean "Diddy" Combs. The idea was simple. Diddy would show him the ropes, teach him the game, and fast-track his rise to stardom. But the world Usher entered wasn't the one anyone expected. In his own words, "I thought I was going to learn how to be a star, but what I saw? No kid should have been around that." From the first day he stepped into Diddy's Midtown penthouse, things felt off. Usher described the place like a non-stop party. Champagne at breakfast, strangers everywhere. People passed out on expensive furniture, half-dressed guests walking around like it was just another Tuesday. And this wasn't some weekend thing. It was daily. Diddy called it Flavor Camp. Usher thought it was just a brand or a fun nickname. But it wasn't that innocent. According to Usher, Diddy didn't talk about music much. There were no vocal lessons, no choreography tips. Instead, Usher was told to watch, observe, soak in the lifestyle. "This is how it works," Diddy allegedly told him. "You learn by watching, no questions." One night, Usher said he woke up at 3 a.m. and saw people in masks walking into the apartment. The lights were dim, music was playing softly. And what he walked in on? He said it looked like something out of a movie. Structured, organized, like a planned-out scene. Cameras, candles, lists. Nobody looked confused. Everyone seemed to know their role. Usher was told to go back to bed. But how do you sleep after seeing something like that? From that moment on, he said his view of Diddy changed forever. But it didn't stop there. Usher went on to explain how nobody ever warned him. Not his label, not even the people closest to him. He said Diddy had a kind of influence that was quiet, but complete. If he liked you, you were protected. If he didn't, good luck. He said other young artists were brought in too, promised fame, but pulled into something else, something they didn't understand until much later. There were people who saw, Usher told the jury, assistants, drivers, other stars. Everyone acted like it was normal, but deep down, they knew better. Then came one of the most uncomfortable parts of the testimony, a trip to the Caribbean when Usher was 15. According to him, it was pitched as a private getaway, no cameras, no press, just a quiet place to focus on music. But once he got there, he quickly realized that wasn't what the trip was really about. He paused before finishing. "I won't share everything, but I will say this. I didn't choose the kind of environment I was placed in, and it took me years to understand the manipulation." The courtroom was holding its breath. Usher's voice lowered as he talked about what happened after that Caribbean trip. He said things with Diddy changed, not in a good way. The vibe shifted. Diddy got more controlling, more rules, more strangers, more parties that didn't feel like parties at all, and anytime Usher tried to push back, he said he'd hear the same warning. "Don't forget who made you. Don't bite the hand that feeds you." Usher looked right at Diddy when he said it in court. "You didn't give me this life. You gave me nightmares." And just when people thought it couldn't get any heavier, it did. Usher told the jury that when he was just 16, he was handed a contract. Not just any contract, but one with a special clause that he says was meant to silence him. At the time, it was described as a regular NDA, something to keep company secrets private. But Usher now says it was more than that. It was worded in a way that protected events that happened behind closed doors, events he didn't fully understand back then. "I didn't know what half of it meant," he said. "My mom had to co-sign. The label said it was standard. But he knows now. That wasn't protection. That was a muzzle. For years, that signature kept him quiet. He says he wasn't allowed to talk about the parties, the people, or what went on behind the scenes. I was told it would ruin the brand. But what about what it did to me?" Usher revealed that in 2009, he was planning to speak out. He was getting ready for an interview with a big publication, the kind that makes headlines. But then, the phone rang. It was a lawyer, from the same label, reminding him about that NDA. They said, "We hope you're not doing anything that could hurt your image." He canceled the interview, but he says it didn't stop there. People he hadn't heard from in years suddenly reached out, people still connected to Diddy's circle. And the message? Crystal clear. You think you're out, but that world doesn't let go, and if you cross the line, it won't just be your career on the line. That's when Usher did something nobody expected. He pulled out the actual NDA, and the judge allowed it. Usher read parts of it aloud, and suddenly those words sounded darker. Audio-visual documentation. Unauthorized reproduction. It all seemed connected to whispers about a secret video archive. His hands shook a little. "That contract made me feel like I was imagining things," Usher said, "like what I saw wasn't real, because I wasn't allowed to say it out loud." Then came the memory that broke the silence in the room. It was 1996. Usher was 17. Diddy invited him to a massive private mansion in Atlanta. And Usher, still young, still trying to be part of the circle, went along. The house was stunning. Marble floors, security at every entrance, music blasting through the night. But Usher wasn't focused on the luxury. He remembered something else entirely. He said there was a locked door at the back of the house. He saw Diddy whisper to security, and the door opened. Before he could step in, Diddy turned to him and said, "You're not ready for that yet." But curiosity got the better of him. Usher peeked inside. He didn't say much, just that he saw people in masks. "I didn't know what I was looking at, but I knew it wasn't right." And then he paused and said the line that made the entire courtroom shift in their seats. "I think that night changed me." And just when you thought Usher had said it all, he brought out something that stunned everyone in the courtroom. A journal, not a legal document, not a press statement, a personal journal, one he had been writing in since 1998. At first, it was just to jot down lyrics, ideas, and thoughts about the music business, but over time, it became something else, a record of the moments he couldn't say out loud. He held up photocopied pages. In one entry from March 1999, Usher described a dinner with Diddy and 3 executives he didn't recognize. They kept going on about loyalty. Usher read from the page, said loyalty keeps you on tour, honesty puts you back home. Then he said, Diddy laughed. Another journal note from October 2000 read, "Too many secrets, too many masks. Diddy says it's just the culture. I don't agree." The prosecutor asked, "Did you ever share these entries with anyone?" Usher shook his head. "I was afraid. I didn't think anyone would believe me, and I didn't want to lose everything I had worked for. So why speak now? Because I've lived with it long enough." Then Usher leaned in close to the mic, and dropped a moment he said he's never even told his closest friends. It was 1997. He was 18. Diddy invited him to Miami, said it was a huge opportunity to meet a powerful investor who could sponsor Usher's first world tour. He hyped it up like this was the moment, told me to dress sharp, be polite. But when Usher walked into the penthouse suite at the Setai Hotel, it wasn't what he expected. 3 men in robes, luxury drinks, young women sitting quietly in the background. One man, with a foreign accent, leaned toward him and asked, "Do you want to be remembered forever?" Usher said it had nothing to do with music. He felt uncomfortable. Diddy walked away and left him in the room, and then it got worse. "One guy put his hand on my shoulder and said, 'You can stay or you can leave, but you won't get another invitation like this.'" Usher left, and after that night, things changed. Tour spots, gone. Big-name producers, suddenly pulled out. "No one ever said it was because I left that suite. but the timing said everything. Then he talked about something that chilled the courtroom. Weeks later, Diddy showed him a video clip, something shot on a handheld camera. Usher says he watched in shock. It was of another young artist, doing something Usher knew he wouldn't have done unless he was pressured into it. Diddy laughed, Usher said. "Did he threaten you?" the attorney asked. Usher paused for a long time. "He didn't have to," he finally answered. "The people around him did. They didn't use words. They used silence and exile." And then Usher said something that made the entire room still. "That was the moment I realized. This wasn't about talent anymore. It was about control. That's how you stayed relevant in his world." Then the lights dimmed slightly. Cameras zoomed in on Usher's face. His voice cracked. "This next part is the hardest, because it's not about me anymore." He started talking about someone he cared deeply for, someone he had helped launch into stardom, Justin Bieber. "I wanted to be the big brother I never had," Usher said. He had helped Bieber early on, guiding him through the chaos of fame. But then, Diddy entered the picture. And just like with Usher years ago, Diddy began inviting Justin to flavor camp. That same phrase, that same pattern. He was just 15, Usher said, but they treated him like a grown man. One night in 2011, Usher got a late-night phone call from Bieber. At first, there was only silence on the line. Then, Justin whispered, "I want to come home." Usher's team tried to find him, but Bieber went dark for 2 days, and when they finally met again, Justin wouldn't even look him in the eye. Usher took a deep breath as he recalled the night everything shifted. He said Justin told him, "I'm fine," but something in his voice said otherwise. He wasn't fine, Usher told the court. Not at all. That was the moment Usher knew he had to confront the issue head-on. He said he met with Diddy privately and asked him straight out, "What are you doing to these kids?" And Diddy's response, he just chuckled, then said, "Same thing they did to me. That's how the game works." Usher said that was the last real conversation they ever had. "After that, I pulled away. I didn't want my name connected to any of it. But watching what happened to Justin, I couldn't keep quiet anymore." Then, Usher dropped something no one saw coming. He revealed that in 2018, he got a call from a blocked number. The voice on the line didn't say hello. It simply said, "Tell him to keep his mouth shut, or we'll shut it for him." When asked who he believed was behind the threat, Usher didn't hesitate. He looked straight at the defense table. "I think you already know." And then came the final straw. The night Usher says changed everything. It was 2002, a private party hidden in the hills of Hollywood. No cameras, no press. On paper, it looked innocent. Diddy had told him it was a casual gathering, a chance to meet a new European producer. But when Usher arrived, there were no producers, no music execs, only security guards at every corner, dim lighting, and a strange silence hanging in the air. Phones were taken at the door. Guests were asked to sign what looked like NDAs, but with wording that felt more threatening than legal. Usher said the whole scene felt wrong. "There were people there who weren't artists," he said. "They weren't in the industry at all. They were just watching." He recognized a few familiar faces, big names, people who had never been linked to Diddy publicly, but he refused to name them in court. "If this trial keeps going," Usher said, "others will come forward." Then he told the jury what happened when he tried to leave early. A man he didn't recognize stopped him, took him to a side room. Inside, Diddy, sitting calmly. He looked at Usher and said, "You're not ready yet. You still think this is about music. It's bigger than that." That was it. Usher walked out and never returned to one of Diddy's private parties again. But the courtroom wasn't done hearing bombshells. Usher shifted gears and started revealing details about the business side of Diddy's world. For the first time, Usher submitted internal contracts and emails that showed he had signed a deal as a teenager, one that locked him into 5 albums and gave away ownership of his masters until he turned 30. "I didn't know what I was signing," Usher said. "I just wanted to sing." But he wasn't alone. He named other artists who had been caught in similar traps: Carl Thomas, Total, Black Rob, and even the late Craig Mack. According to Usher, it was a pattern. Diddy pulled artists in with promises of fame and mentorship. and dropped them when they stopped being useful. Then came another jaw-dropping detail. Usher said a private accountant once sent him a breakdown, a spreadsheet of what he should have earned over the years. It showed more than $4.3 million in unpaid royalties. When Usher brought it to Diddy, he claims Diddy just laughed. "If you knew what was really owed to you," Diddy allegedly told him, "you wouldn't sleep at night." And it wasn't just Usher. Court documents revealed that several artists took quiet settlements, small payouts, just to get back the rights to their own names or music. Usher then shared that in 2011 he tried to bring those artists together, behind closed doors, to talk about their experiences and stand up for their rights, but the meeting never happened. Somebody tipped him off, and then Usher dropped a bombshell. He said he once saw Diddy give the order, right in front of him, to destroy demo tapes and footage that belonged to another artist. Why? Because that artist had threatened to speak out. Usher paused. "That artist disappeared," he said. "No one's heard from him. I don't know where he is, but I remember his voice. I remember he was scared." The courtroom went silent. Then came the final, most emotional stretch of Usher's testimony. When the attorney asked why he didn't speak up sooner, Usher's voice cracked. "Because I thought I owed him. I thought being silent meant I could still be thankful, but you can't be grateful for a lie." He said the guilt had lived inside him for years. He watched other young artists walk into the same trap, wide-eyed, full of dreams, and felt powerless to stop it. "I didn't know how to help without losing everything I had built," he admitted. "It was always about leverage. And Diddy, he had all of it." In 2016, just as a controversial clip from Drink Champs began making rounds online again, Usher says he tried to finally confront Diddy, but before he could even get close, Diddy's legal team blocked him. Then came the most haunting part. Usher shared a private journal entry he had written the night he finally walked away from Diddy's world for good. It read, "I survived Puffy, but did the kid in me survive? I still don't know." He looked out at the courtroom, the live stream, and the younger generation watching this unfold in real time. "This isn't just about one man," Usher said. "It's about an entire system that told kids like me to stay quiet, to fall in line, to never question the people who gave us our shot. But I'm here now, and I'm not afraid anymore. Not for me, because I already lived through it. I'm speaking for the ones who didn't." The entire courtroom stood still. What had started as a case about business practices and racketeering had transformed into something much deeper, a look into years of silence and pain in the music industry. Then, Usher revealed something the public never knew, not until that moment. Back in 2001, just after his album 8701 took off, Usher disappeared for a full week. Rumors swirled. People thought he was just taking a break from his intense tour schedule. But, in truth, he had quietly checked into a private mental health facility in Northern California, under a fake name. Why? Because the trauma had caught up to him. "I started having panic attacks after I turned 20, Usher told the court. Simple things triggered it. Flashing lights, packed rooms, certain songs. But the worst one was a smell. He was staying in a hotel in New York, one that, by chance, had been the location of one of Diddy's legendary parties years ago. Usher stepped into the hallway and smelled the same exact brand of candles Diddy used to burn at home. "My body froze," he said. "I started shaking. I couldn't breathe." His team rushed him to the clinic. He stayed there under observation for 5 days, and, for the first time in his life, he told someone everything. "I told the psychiatrist I had seen things no kid should ever see, that I grew up in a world where staying quiet was the only way to survive. That house? It wasn't just a home. It was a place where dreams were sold. But your soul was the price." The diagnosis? Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The room went quiet again, not just from the shock, but from the weight of what he had just shared. Usher said it took 2 years of therapy before he could sleep through the night without waking up in fear. He didn't name others who might have experienced the same things. Usher's voice dropped to almost a whisper. He said he wasn't the only one. There were others, young artists, full of hope, who had been pulled into that same world. Some made it out, Others didn't. "I was lucky," he said. "I had the money to get help, but some of them, they didn't." He listed 3. One of them overdosed. Another tried to take his own life. And the third? He just vanished. No press, no news, just gone. When asked why he stayed quiet all these years, why he carried all this in silence, Usher didn't hesitate. "Because in 2001, nobody would have believed me. Puffy was untouchable, and I was just the kid with the voice. But now," he looked the courtroom straight in the eye, "now the world is ready to listen." The entire room froze, not because of what he said, but because of what it meant. Behind the platinum records, behind the Grammys, behind the packed arenas. There might have been something else, something darker, a silent battle that nobody ever saw, a war fought inside the mind of a teenage artist just trying to make it. Now, finally, that voice, the one that had once been silenced, was being heard. And Usher wasn't just speaking for himself, he was speaking for everyone who never got the chance.